Can you tell me what is this project behind you?
We've been talking about utilizing this back area behind the pool for a few years now. We really didn't really address it until we had an individual by the name of Michael Tomei that came in and brought in some outside vendors that were able to donate materials, the fountain, Armstrong Nursery that were able to come in and donate some plants. And so he kind of came in with the idea. Chris Burns came in with him and said, hey, talk to Mike and see what we can do. And so between Mike and I, we came with an original drawing, then we made some modifications, and then you see what you see here behind you now.
All right, great. And the process, I know you summed it up in about 4 or 5 sentences, but it was about how long did it take and who was involved?
We started back right around August. We initially had talked about it before that. When we first started off, we had some issues here. We had solar lines that actually feed the pool that were leaking. We had a gas leak, so we had to get all that fixed first, and then we started from that point on. We've involved the masonry class. The landscape class has been part of this also. They've been doing most of the planning. They were real helpful when we did the first initial pour of the concrete, setting the first row of the block. But it's been a process. We've gone through. If you look at our other footage, you'll see the grade. We had a real dramatic drop over here, about 2 feet. So we had a lot of. Once we got the walls up, we had to also compact the dirt to get it to the level that we're at now. So.
Okay, and then you talked a little bit more about the process, and I don't know if you could like simplify it into 2 or 3 stages, but let's talk about that process. What were the beginning, middle, and end stages in this whole process?
The initial was to find out if it was actually feasible to actually make it work. And then once we got that portion of it, then I had to come in and figure out the heights, because before I had to calculate and figure out the elevations of where we wanted the concrete, because we wanted to actually, the whole idea was to have an 18-inch to 20-inch seating wall around the whole perimeter so you can utilize the students and staff can sit around it. So once I established that, then we were able to figure out the depths of our footings, the type of walls we're going to use. I talked to Michael Tomei about what materials needed to be donated, what was going to be involved. We actually drew it out on the ground with spray paint, and then from that point on we started digging the footings, put the walls up, compact it. Then we were actually prepared to actually set the base for the concrete. Then we poured the concrete, we stamped it, we brought in the fountain. So there was quite a bit to it. We had to make sure that we had power running to the fountain and power running to the actual barbecue that we have over there. And then we actually got to figure out, once we got the barbecue donated, also how that was going to play in. So it was quite a few steps, but at this point now, we're actually just doing the finishing of the brick on top. We're just grounding it in, and then once we get that, we'll get the fountain. It's pretty much done. The barbecue, we're going to put stone on the front of that, and then we're going to tile the top, and then we'll just be able to enjoy it.
And then speaking of enjoying it, what's the purpose of this back? What are the many purposes of this area?
I think we initially thought that when the cottages come down, that usually they can have an area where they can actually utilize the pool, but also they could come over here if they want to do a small group. They want to just talk about what's going on. If you're familiar with Boys Republic, you'll always notice when they come out of the rec hall, they'll group up over in the parking area. So here they can do a little bit sit down, more formal. It's set up for parents, for staff, and then also with using this, we can utilize the lower racquetball court that we haven't been using in a while. So it kind of ties the whole place back in together. This is the first phase. I know they actually maybe want to do something down lower, but right now we're just kind of concentrating on this. But I think whenever you have something that's, what we had here was just a lot of dirt, so it wasn't really utilized. So now that you have the fountain, it's already starting to draw people into this whole back area, which is a really good area because, like I said, you got really great views all around. You got panoramic views. You got the pool behind you, so if the staff is using the pool, you're still able to see through the wall. You're able to make the cottage work together, so it kind of keeps it in here, so you don't have guys wandering around. You can kind of focus them here.
Okay, and then who would you like to thank? Who are the people? I know you mentioned a few of them previous, but who are the people that lend the stuff? The other people that you'd like to give, as we say, a shout out to?
Okay, we have Michael Tomei, who actually started it off, the whole thing. He kind of had the vision for it. Chris Burns for allowing me to come over here and actually keeping me on the project because I have other duties that sometimes takes me away from projects, so we're able to focus on it. They allowed me to take use my masonry class. So staff from all the cottages, I was able to utilize students during the school schedule, pull them out the school office. They were real flexible with me on that. Armstrong Nursery. We also had the Fountain Company, and the name just kind of slips my mind right now. We had Bulldog Barbecue that donated that barbecue. We actually went down to look at it to see how we could actually make it ourselves. And they go, you know what? We'll go ahead and donate it. So there's been a lot of people generating there, and Derek Scott was here. You know, he brought his class over. He's done some planning. So it's kind of been like a collaboration of everybody here on campus. And I know when we get into a project like this, trying to stay on it and trying to get it complete as quickly as possible with students tends to drag a little longer. But I think we did pretty good on the time for what what was in front of us. And with using students, it always slows down the process. But our guys they really picked up. They got a lot of experience. So,
Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
enjoy it. There was a lot of effort put in here, a lot of thought about how it would be used. Make sure you take care of it. It's yours to enjoy, and so I think that's about all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
All right, no
All
problem.
right, cool.
Thank you.